Shalom lekolam and welcome back to another Che Languages video. My name is Yair and today we are revisiting Indo-Iranian languages where we will be taking a look at 3 lesser known languages. Now of course, the Indo-Iranian languages are the eastern group of languages in the Indo-European language family. However, it can be further subdivided into 3 main groups, these being Indo-Aryan, Iranian and Nuristani. Although for some reason this map does not show Nuristani. My first video on Indo-Iranian languages only discussed languages from the Iranian languages, so in this video I want to make sure I cover one language from each of the 3 major branches. So without any further delay, let's get straight into the video. Yalla, commençons. The first language we'll be taking a look at today is from the Indo-Aryan languages, those spoken on the Indian subcontinent. However, this language, Veda, is not spoken on the subcontinent, but rather on the island nation of Sri Lanka, surviving today in the central areas of the island. I say surviving because sadly the language has only 300 speakers left, probably less. I was initially skeptical of including Veda into this video, however, as it is an Indo-Aryan Creole based on Sinhala. The original language it developed from is unknown and unclassified, but it's likely to be a Dravidian language, as other Dravidian languages exist on the island, and the name Veda is cognate with a Tamil word meaning hunter. I chose to include it still though because I believe Creoles to be languages in their own right, and it has been a Creole for so many generations that surely it must count by now. Most of the Veda people who live across the island speak Sinhala and Tamil. Not many actually speak their own language itself anymore. What is interesting, however, is that unlike most Creole languages, the original pre-Indo-European Veda language is considered to be a major substrate on general Sinhala as a whole, as it displays grammatical features and vocabulary not found in other Indo-Aryan languages on the mainland. The name for the capital of Sri Lanka, Colombo, is even thought to come from the original Veda word for port. Taking a look at the phonology of Veda, we can notice these phonemes, which are very frequent in Veda and apparently constitute a sound shift of many Sinhala words in the language. All the vowels additionally have nasalized variants. Moving to grammar. Veda classifies nouns into animate versus inanimate distinction rather than gender, which is actually pretty common for languages across the world. A feature commonly seen in Creole languages is the simplification of negation particles, and here is an example of that in Veda compared with Sinhala. Veda often also adds inanimate noun suffixes to words that don't have them in Sinhala, shown here. You can also see here how the phonemes changed in Veda from Sinhala words. Finally, here's a short list of vocabulary in Veda. No proper samples are given, just words. Could only find videos about the people, but not their language. However, I still thought that Veda was an incredibly interesting language to learn about, and I wanted to discuss it here to share this unique language with you all. However, we will now move on to our next language. Our next language takes us to the south of Iran, where a sister language to modern Persian is found, known as Achomi. It is spoken in a region historically called Irakistan, but nowadays encompasses parts of Fars and Hormozgan, as well as some other areas, sometimes referred to locally as Achomistan. Now, Achomi is actually the endonym, but you might hear it called Khodmoni in the Gulf states, where many Achomi Iranian workers can be found, and Lari in Fars. However, it should not be confused with the Lari dialects of Persian, nor the Luri language in western Iran. Achomi has approximately 120 speakers, though most of them nowadays speak Persian or Arabic as well. The language has several dialects, including Lari, Hevazi, Garashi, Khunji, and Bastaki. Achomi is thought to come from the Arabic word Ajam, a word meaning mute, but also referring to non-Arab Muslims, especially Persians in particular. As mentioned, many Persians live in the Arabian Gulf states, including an overrepresented amount of Achomi people, especially in Kuwait City, where population has existed in the Sharq neighborhood for generations, and Bahrain and the UAE. Many more modern Iranians have come over as workers, adding to both the Achomi population as well as the Persians in general. The Achomi language is close to Persian, as it split off from Middle Persian a few centuries ago. But comprehension is usually asymmetric, meaning Achomi speakers usually understand Persian fine, ignoring the fact most are educated in modern Persian, whereas Persian speakers might struggle a lot more to understand naturally spoken Achomi. For example, here is a list of personal pronouns in Achomi, Kurmanji Kurdish, and modern Persian to compare the similarities and differences. Now, sadly, I could not find a lot of information on things such as phonology, but Wikipedia does provide a nice poem in Achomi alongside its Persian translation, which could be helpful for any Persian speakers watching the video. There are also some sentences here with a romanization provided, which is more helpful. And finally, there is a poem in the Bastaki dialect, once again with a romanization for those who struggle with Perso-Arabic script like myself. It would be interesting to hear how Achomi and Persian compare, given how they descend from the same language only a few centuries ago. But my Persian is not very good at all to spot the differences. Please let me know in the comments what you think. Now, moving on to our final language. Our final language once again brings us to the wilderness of Afghanistan, just like Moghol in our last video, where you will find the Askunu language. This language is part of the Nuristani languages, shown here, where the map calls it Ashkun, an alternate exonym. For reference, here is Nuristan in relation to the rest of Afghanistan, almost at the opposite end of the country to Moghol. The endonym for the language is similar, but the pronunciation is more nuanced than the Latin script can provide. I will not attempt to pronounce it. As I already mentioned, Askunu is part of the Nuristani languages, spoken in the Nuristan province of Afghanistan. Askunu has around 40,000 speakers, making it the second most spoken Nuristani language after Kati. Askunu is not usually written, so the orthography used in the endonym is not official, similar to this flag, which I found as a proposed flag for the Nuristani people, but not official by any standards. Literacy rates amongst the Nuristani people are very low, another saddening fact in the overall situation of modern Afghanistan. Talking of which, the Nuristani languages today are generally threatened by living conditions, war, and the prevalence of domination of Persian, standard form, known as Dari, in Afghanistan. If we have a look at the phonology of Askunu, we see a very high level of distinction between all these phonemes, which I find pretty impressive. Overall, Askunu has some pretty interesting phonemes, which makes it quite unique considering it's still an Indo-European language. Moving on to a sample of both vocabulary and grammar, we have a table showing personal pronouns in Askunu, still displaying the TV distinction found in many Indo-European languages. Furthermore, their word for I is literally I, though of course this has to be a coincidence as the Old English word was each. We also have a list of numbers, which is really fascinating as I see similarities with Persian, Sanskrit, and even Latin in these numbers. It's insane how similar Askunu du is to French deux, par exemple, despite it being miles and millennia apart. However, that's all I could find for Askunu sadly, so with that we will conclude this video. Thank you all for watching. I hope you all enjoyed this video, especially my partner who requested this video as she studies Persian and wanted me to talk about some languages related to Persian, which is why I included Achomi. I'm going to be busy over the next few weeks with Hanukkah and everything else, so I'm not sure if I will make the next video in 2 weeks, but I hope I will be able to do it in time. Either way, I wish you all a happy Hanukkah, Chag Sameach, and for everybody else, Merry Christmas or Saturnalia or whatever it is you celebrate. And enjoy your new year. May it be a joyous time and may you all get time to relax. I know I will be for once. Anyway, thank you for watching once again, and I will see you in the next video. Toda raba ve yalla bye.